Imagine this. You spend your entire life trying to fit in. You adjust the way you speak, the way you dress, the choices you make, all in search of approval. You bend yourself around expectations that were never truly yours, and little by little, you drift away from who you really are. You fear being judged. You chase validation in eyes that change with every season, clinging to the belief that your worth depends on how the world sees you. But what if everything you were taught about caring too much is exactly what's keeping you from living? What if the key to confidence, freedom, and even success isn't found in control, but in letting go of it? Michel de Montaigne, 16th century thinker, explored this paradox deeply. While the world around him collapsed in wars and political chaos, he withdrew to a silent tower, not to escape, but to observe the human soul. His essays were not written to preach, but to liberate. His philosophy, far from abstract, is a compass for anyone who longs to live with lightness, authenticity, and inner peace. Montaigne challenged our idea of success. He questioned the need to please. He pointed towards serenity through detachment. In this journey, we confront the anxiety of approval, the fear of failure, the addiction to control. And with Montaigne as our guide, we discover what happens when you finally stop caring about what never truly mattered. From an early age, we are taught that if we control everything, we will be safe. Safe from mistakes, from judgment, from failure. As if life were an exact equation where effort and worry could guarantee order. But Montaigne saw clearly what few dare to admit. Control is mostly an illusion. We exhaust ourselves trying to dominate the uncontrollable. What others think, what might happen, how we are perceived. In doing so, we drain the very energy meant for creation, presence, and love. After nearly dying in a horseback accident, Montaigne understood that no amount of planning could shield him from chance. And paradoxically, that realization freed him. "My life has been full of terrible misfortunes," he wrote, "most of which never happen. How many anxieties do you carry for futures that never arrive? How many sleepless nights have you spent rehearsing conversations that never occur?" The obsession with control distances us from reality. The tighter we grip, the more unstable life feels. Montaigne invites us to look at this obsession gently and then release it. Life is not a machine to operate. It is a living organism full of surprise. It blooms only for those courageous enough to dance with uncertainty. There is an invisible force guiding many of our steps, the desire to be accepted. Since childhood, approval has felt like reward, a proud glance, a compliment, a sense of belonging. And so we construct identities shaped by what pleases others. But when we live for acceptance, we lose contact with what is truly ours. Validation is subtle, in the opinions we silence, the clothes we choose, the constant adaptation. We don't want to disappoint, so we imprison ourselves. And even when approval comes, it rarely satisfies, because it was given to a mask, not to our authentic self. Montaigne chose another path, self-knowledge so deep that outside opinions lose their power to wound or define. He invites us to ask, who are you trying to please, and why? How many of your decisions were born from fear of judgment rather than true desire? When you stop seeking acceptance everywhere, you discover something rare, self-acceptance. And from there, relationships become more honest, choices lighter, and life quietly your own. Detachment is not coldness or indifference. It is clarity, the wisdom to distinguish between what deserves your energy and what merely consumes it. It is acting with dedication but without obsession, loving without possession, seeking without losing yourself. Montaigne lived this paradox. He lost 5 of his 6 children in infancy. He lost his beloved friend Etienne de la Boétie. He witnessed a nation fractured by civil war. Yet suffering did not harden him, it deepened him. He retreated not in bitterness, but in reflection. "I do not portray being," he wrote, "I portray passing." Nothing is fixed. No one is perfectly consistent. To accept this is to remove the armor and inhabit your humanity fully. In a world obsessed with curated perfection, Montaigne reminds us that contradiction is proof of inner life, that changing your mind is growth, not weakness. True wisdom does not arise from perfection, but from intimacy with imperfection. Nowhere is detachment more powerful than in relationships. So often, we try to shape others to soothe our insecurities. We confuse love with possession. We suffer not because people are different, but because we attempt to control them. Montaigne's friendship with La Boétie revealed a rare bond, free from demands, free from ownership, a connection that simply was. The more tightly you hold someone, the more they slip away. The more freely you allow them to be, the more willingly they stay. Freedom in love is not the absence of connection. It is connection without chains. There comes a quiet moment when something inside you finally releases. Not out of weakness, but wisdom. You realize you cannot control everything. You do not need to prove yourself constantly, and carrying endless worry makes no sense. This is not surrender as defeat. It is surrender as reconciliation. When you stop resisting life's impermanence, a deep peace emerges, and that peace is transformative. What happens when you stop caring about others' opinions? You speak with more truth. What happens when you stop chasing perfection? You act with more courage. What happens when you release the fear of failure? You finally create. Here lies the great paradox. The less you try to control life, the more it begins to align. Perhaps because, in letting go, you finally become who you are, and the world responds to that truth. Montaigne left no formulas, no rigid doctrines, only presence. He taught that the obsession with control suffocates freedom, that the need to please kills authenticity, that fear of failure is often the only real barrier between us and the life we desire. When you stop caring about what does not matter, what truly matters begins to bloom. When you release fear, courage enters. When you stop trying to prove yourself, a quiet power takes its place. Montaigne does not ask us to change the world. He asks us to change the way we inhabit ourselves. And when that shifts, the world shifts too. So I ask you, what are you still holding on to so tightly that it has begun to hurt you? What might happen if just for a moment you let go? Share in the comments an experience you've had with detachment, with the act of releasing. Your story might be the permission someone else has been waiting for.